Hey gang, welcome to another live episode of TogChat. I'm Joe Edelman. I'm going to be your host for the next 90 minutes. And today, since it's Thursday, we're going to talk about all things marketing for photographers. And most specifically, we are going to look through two different photographers' websites. We're going to check out their social media, and we're going to see what we can do to help them improve their marketing efforts. So, a couple little pieces of business before we dig in. Number one, I am doing the show early today because I have a speaking engagement tonight. I'm going to be doing a talk actually in my area for once. It's at the Lehigh Valley Camera Club, and it is a talk all about portraiture. And the actual title of the talk is A Simple Approach to Portraits That Flatter. And I know a lot of you are going to say, hey, is there any way we can watch it? Can you live stream it? Can you record it? I'm not going to do a live stream because that would require a whole ton of equipment and crazy setups. However, what I will do is I am planning to go out and record this one. This is a talk that is actually kind of a combination of several videos that I've put online, but I think it ties things together pretty nicely. So as long as we are able to get a decent recording out of the space that I'm going into, I am going to mic myself for sound, and I will go ahead and hopefully over the weekend post a video of it. It's a 60-minute talk. Normally, I do this simple approach to portraits that flatter in 90 minutes or a little bit more. So I'm going to try and squeeze this down to a 60-minute version. So as long as we can get some functional lighting in the room and make everything, usable for YouTube, I will indeed give you guys a peek at it over the weekend so you can get a sense of kind of how I tie some of these different techniques that I have in different videos all together. Okay? So the other thing is, I lied to you guys last week, but I didn't do it intentionally. So I have to beg your forgiveness, but I'll make you a promise. I told you guys last week when I did TogChat on Thursday that I would be posting a new marketing video on Friday. And Friday came and went, and of course, there was no video. So the only excuse I have, the absolute truth is, I had to really kind of abandon my schedule for the entire end of the week last week, but it's really cool stuff. I can't give you all the details yet, but an opportunity came up that will really allow me to do some cool stuff for YouTube and for you guys on these live shows and even in my Facebook group. But it did require me having to kind of jump through a few hoops to get some material out and shoot a real quick demo. So, I had a choice of throw the marketing video out the door kind of half done, or really do it right. And there's too much at stake for this marketing information, and plus there's way too much information. So I decided to push it off till this weekend. It's probably going to go live on Saturday. I'm not kidding. This one's the one that's all about domain names and about websites, and there's a ton of information in it, and I am really working to make sure that it's edited very tightly, meaning, you guys will be able to use it kind of as a textbook almost and go back through it time and time again if you need to for reference. I'm trying to get all the fluff out of it and really make sure that it's a good cohesive piece because it's one that's going to be important to a lot of people. So I apologize for not making it out last week, but it is coming. And that's pretty much all of my news, okay? I know that I've mentioned to several of you in several of these live shows that next month, February 7th and 8th, I'll be at WPPI in Las Vegas. I hope to meet some of you out there. I've gotten messages from quite a few people that are planning on making it to Vegas. So I am not presenting in Vegas. I'm just going out to attend the show, meet a bunch of people. Doesn't take much of an excuse to get me to say yes to a trip to Vegas. So I'll be getting into town about midday on the 7th, and I'll be there all day on the 8th. I will make sure that I'm doing lots of social media posting so that you guys know where to find me if you're going to be there. I hope to meet you. So before we get into reviews, we do have two sponsors this week, and I want to tell you about one of them to start. We'll get to the second one a little bit later. But the first one is .space. .space is one of the newer, kind of more personalized domain extensions. So what happens with these domain extensions, number one, I know you all understand .com. That's the one everybody knows about, and that's the one that people tend to try and get. The problem of it is we're running out of .com names. So what's happening is all of these additional domain names, they're starting to kind of specialize in different areas, which is a really cool thing because it's training the end user on the internet to say, hey, if it's a .photo or a .space, that it's potentially a photographer or creative, that kind of thing. So .space has agreed to sponsor a bunch of the TogChats to get things going here this year. And what we're giving away is we're giving away today 5. That's right, 5 free registrations of .space domain names. Okay, and I've also got a free piece of software that I'll tell you about a little bit later. Okay, so and Chris Brock is worried about the @ sign. Sorry guys, no @ sign today. It's daytime, and for some reason it just doesn't seem right to have all the really cool mood lights on because there's a window right next to me here and I can see like sunlight out. So it's kind of throwing me off. So you'll have to roll with me here. So anyway, those of you that applied to win the prizes last week, make sure that as soon as I go off the air, you check the description section of this video. I'll be adding the names of the winners so that you can see them. The winners have been notified. So if you didn't hear anything from me about last week, it means you didn't make it last week, but I have the same prizes again this week, and I will explain to you what you have to do to be able to win those at the end of the video. Okay, so guys, I want to jump right in. Like I said, I've got 2 websites for you guys to look at, and I want to really be sure that we can go through them in detail today. So the first one that we are going to look at is a website by a gentleman by the name of Alex Merg. And Alex is from Clearwater, Florida. In fact, today is Florida Day on TogChat. It just so happens that both of our photographers are in Florida. And the one thing that I didn't check, which I should have checked, is if they're actually both in the same town, because I'm not familiar with the town name for the second photographer. So you guys can let me know when we get there. So James Parrish, that's actually a good question about .space, and I'll tell you what, for all of you guys, because I know you're going to have a ton of questions. You always do, which is great. I really want to be able to stay focused on these reviews, so please stick with me. I will set aside time at the end of the TogChat, and I will answer all your questions, and I'll break down .space for you, and actually even how I use .space, because I purchased a .space domain name, okay? So for Alex, let me give you a little bit of the background like I do with every photographer. So if this is the first time you're checking into one of these marketing TogChats, photographers submit their websites for me to review both the website, their photography, their presentation, and also their social media. I ask them a few questions about themselves, but I don't want tons of information. And the reason is I want to be able to view their marketing really kind of for the first time with you guys so that I'm giving the feedback based on my first impressions of what I see. I ask a few questions so I at least have a sense of where they've been and where they're trying to go. And that's it. I look at these websites literally for the first time about an hour before I come on the air with you. So yes, I've had kind of one quick run through it, but I have not studied it. I've not dug into them really deep. I haven't read all the verbiage. It's just to really, honestly, make sure that I'm not going to click on something and regret what I clicked on when it goes out live on YouTube, okay? So that being said, the background that I have for Alex, he's been shooting for a few years, but the last year or so, he's really been trying to focus his efforts, and he did something really crazy. Last August, he decided to take the risk and the challenge of becoming a professional, which is awesome. Alex, congratulations. I realize it's scary, but it can also be the greatest motivator ever, okay? So he shoots mostly high school senior portraits, and that also kind of evolved because his kids are in that same age group. But recently, he started doing some weddings. He found a gig with some people that actually kind of do budget wedding images on the beach in Florida. So he's done several weddings so far, not making a ton of money, but he's gaining a lot of experience. So he also explained, the last piece of information I have from Alex is that he built his website with Squarespace, and that's fine. And he delivers his proofs using Pixieset. Okay, and I've come across a lot of photographers and their websites that are both using Squarespace and using Pixieset. When the domain name and website video comes out this week, you will get a much more detailed breakdown from me as to some of the differences between companies like Squarespace. The company that I use is a company called Format, who I actually really prefer over Squarespace, but I'm not going to take up all of this video to break it down for you. But I would encourage you to check them out. Their URL is also in the description section below the video, so you can click and see what they have to offer. But bottom line is, for most of the photographers that have been submitting their websites to me, it's really not so much an issue of the website design or where they're hosting. It's really more a matter of making sure that we're showing and doing the right things. So the first thing I see when I come to Alex's website, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing for me to point out. When I do these reviews, and you'll understand a little bit more of this after you read the website, or excuse me, after you watch the website video that's coming out, I have the browser that you are seeing the website in. It is set to a pixel dimension of 1024 by 1280. So that's 1280 wide, 1024 tall. The reason why I set it to that specific dimension is that that is the most commonly viewed browser dimension on the entire internet. Certainly, there are almost an infinite number of shapes and sizes and measurements that people wind up having their browser set at. And then, of course, there's mobile with phones and tablets, etc. But whether you're aware of it or not, anytime you visit a website, it basically records some information about your visit. And I don't mean personal private information, but I mean information about like what kind of browser you're using. Are you on Chrome, Firefox? Are you on Microsoft Internet Explorer, Safari? It records what operating system you're on. Are you on Windows? Are you on a Mac? It records your browser dimensions. So this is information that we know that's available. So what happens a lot of times, and the reason why I'm pointing this out to you guys, when you're working on your website, if you've got a nice big 27-inch screen like I do, so like right now when I'm looking at my desktop, this browser is taking up like a really small corner of the desktop because I have the ability, I'm on a 4K iMac screen, so I have the ability to make it much, much bigger. But understand, when you're working on your website, if you've got a big screen that you use for, doing editing and things like that with your photos, don't assume that everyone will have the exact same experience with your website as you are. So for all the major websites, you can get a little plugin or extension that will allow you to automatically resize your browser to the preset dimensions so that you can check the most popular dimensions. And if you're not sure what those are, or more specifically, if you're not sure what the most popular browser dimensions are for the people that visit your website, make sure you're using Google Analytics. I'll be talking about that in the marketing videos, and you'll be able to get a much better sense of how people are viewing your website so that you can design and set things up accordingly, okay? So what you've got here is a very nice clean logo. The name is very prominent. I am very much in support of that. We have got a very simple 4 links, which is another thing that I am very, very much in support of. In other words, keep it simple, stupid. Super, super important, okay? And Alex is making it pretty clear right out of the box. He does portraits. He does weddings. You can learn about him. And Project 52, I don't know what that is yet. I haven't clicked on that link, so we're going to find out. So as we go through, Alex's little carousel that's here, or slider, you'll hear them referred to both ways. We've got a nice series of pictures, pretty much all young women, all definitely high school age. There we get a guy all the way down here at the end. So one of the things that I will point out to you, Alex, that I would suggest, and I'm being kind of picky here, but, whoops, that's my Siri phone. I must have said something that Siri decided it could answer for me. So, when I see the first 2 images load on your page, my first shot that I see is a young lady who looks like she's very pretty, but I can only see one eye. And then the second shot is black and white of a young lady who looks really stern. So I don't think you're necessarily putting your best shots right up front. I would encourage you to, number one, start out with color. Unless you're in a market and you've really established a reputation and people are like coming to you routinely and saying, oh my God, I love those black and white pictures. Will you do it for me? I wouldn't lead with black and white. And And I also happen to know, because Alex is a member of my Facebook group, that this young lady in the black and white picture is his daughter. So that being said, also, Alex, I wouldn't start out with an image of your daughter unless it's like a really like just over the top wow shot. And while your daughter is very pretty, I don't think this is one of your best images. So some other things that I wanted to point out about your pictures. The shot here, the young lady in the dress, I'm not going to lie to you. I hate to sound like a jerk here, but she looks like she's got a stomach ache. She's got her chin tucked. So you want to really, really be careful. With senior portraits, it's about happy. It's about fun. These kids want to show who they are, and they want to remember themselves. And it's actually a lot like a wedding in the sense that no bride wants real pictures of her wedding. What a bride wants is pictures of the fantasy in her mind so that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, she's able to relive that fantasy. So just make sure that you're paying really good attention, to body language with what you're doing with the shots. That's really, really important, okay? You have one shot of a young man that's all the way down here at the end. I would encourage you, if you're trying to get high school seniors, get some more guys in the mix, okay? And if this is the only guy that you have, then that's fine. Move it forward more in the selection so that it doesn't take me so long to get to it. Because the one thing you don't want to do, don't assume that people are going to look through all your pictures, because they're not, okay? They're going to make up their mind in the first couple of images. So it's really, really important that your strongest stuff is first. And so there's at least 3 photos of your daughter that are in this gallery. There should only be one. You should only have one shot, okay? Anytime you start duplicating the same person, it kind of indicates that you haven't photographed a lot of people, which obviously you're being honest with us about that, but that's not what you want to be saying to your clients. And it's totally a subliminal, kind of subtle messaging, but it's really important that you are presenting yourself with the kind of messaging that you want people to see and understand. So that's really what I would look at having you do there. When we click on the wedding links, and this is a really, and I didn't click on your wedding link before, so I'll try not to do a rant here, Alex, but believe me, you're not the only person that does this. I think several of the websites that I've done in the few weeks since I started this TogChat series have done exactly the same thing, and I see this all the time. I don't understand why wedding photographers use ring pictures for their marketing. Like, I don't get it. So if there's a wedding photographer that can really give me convincing evidence, and I'm not kidding, convincing evidence. In other words, sorry, I'm not willing to take your word for it, okay? But I want convincing evidence that the rings get people to book you for weddings. I'm not buying that at all. So to me, there's no way this should be the first picture that comes up when I click on weddings, because this is not going to make me want to hire you to shoot my wedding. I mean, this is totally filler pictures in the album, okay? So, we need to get to the people pictures. So you're doing the weddings on the beach now, and I realize you told me, let's see, you've only done 4 of them so far. So you don't have a ton, but my advice to you then would be, don't show tons of pictures all from the same wedding. Show less pictures overall. So really edit things down aggressively. Remember, guys, you'll hear me use this phrase all the time when we're doing marketing talks and when we're looking at portfolios. You can look like a rock star with 5 pictures, or you can look like a hack with 10, okay? So edit aggressively. Your goal is not to impress people with how many pictures you have. Your goal is to impress people with how amazing your pictures are. And when we're talking about these 2 categories, Alex, both portraits and weddings, these are categories where people want lots of life and energy. In fact, they want things to be larger than life. So that's really where you have to put your focus is really get that personality down, okay? So, you've got some, like this picture right here, if you ask me, this should be your first shot. This should be the lead shot when I click on that wedding page. It's got life, it's got energy. It's not perfect, it's not posed, but it's awesome. The color's beautiful, but the personality just screams at me. So to me, this is a shot that's going to get my attention. This is a shot that is going to draw me in, okay? Even this. So obviously this was a couple. I have a feeling that you had a really good connection with this couple. There was a lot of really good energy that day, but definitely that first one that we saw there, that at least from what I've seen so far, that ought to be your lead picture in the wedding gallery. But I realize since you don't have a ton of weddings and you've only done 4, so you need to show more than one picture from each of them. That's fine. Just don't feel that you have to show 5 or 10 from each of them. You're just going to have a small gallery to start. And the only other thing that I will, I guess, raise as a question, clearly, Alex, you like the black and white. Make sure, oops, oh gosh, and I lost that shot. I'm sorry. Let me click back here, guys. This shot here, the couple walking on the beach, this is another one that really ought to have a little bit better play. If by chance you have a frame that's a half a second earlier and her head's not on the pier, I'd rather you use that one, but actually this is a really nice shot. So the black and white stuff, obviously I don't know your market directly, but I don't know a lot of photographers that are doing a lot of black and white and making money on it in today's marketplaces. So all I'm pointing out about that is make sure that this is something your clients really want as opposed to something that you really enjoy. When you're setting out to do business as a photographer and to get clients to pay you, there's a delicate balance that we all run. So if you guys have been to some of these previous ones, you have heard me talk about the idea that the challenge in becoming a professional photographer is that you have to do what you do it to the best of your ability, and then find somebody dumb enough to pay for it. I mean, that's basically how it works. Because if you try to do everything the way somebody else does, or if you try to do everything just the way you think your clients want it, you're going to suck. Plus, you'll be miserable. So you got to do your thing. So indeed, Alex, if your thing is black and white, okay, that's cool. I'm just raising the concern because I want to make sure that you're not going to get so deep into your thing that you're going to kind of knock yourself out of your market. If you are legitimately getting a demand for that, then I would say go for it. Now, don't fall into the trap of, I did these black and white pictures and the bride and groom said, oh my God, I love it. And this bride and groom said, oh my God, I love it. The real test is, are they spending a lot of money for it? Okay, so that's really the test. So as long as it's working for you and as long as you're making money with it, then absolutely go for it. But indeed, it does start with, you got to do what you do. So I know that sounds kind of wishy-washy. I really hope I'm kind of making that point. If you're not starting with what you do and what you like, you don't stand a chance in hell. But it is possible to get so far into your own thing that it doesn't, become marketable. John Supko, what if your thing is selective color? Selective color done right, it's okay, but usually selective color is done wrong. So we won't even go down that rabbit hole. So moving on to Alex's About Me page, okay? So first thing out of the box that I got to tell you, Alex, is I get really confused when I see this picture now, and I hadn't clicked on this page before, so this is the first time seeing this picture and the first time seeing the page. So the thing that I commented about before is there's no guys on the site, and then here's your About picture, and you got like this hunk dude standing in the water. Where's that picture? So the fact that I'm not seeing that shot, but yet you're using that as your About picture, that kind of bugs me. I mean, and maybe it's just the photographer in me, so I won't make a big deal of that. But what I will make a big deal out of is I want to see your face, especially for weddings. Well, and portraits, because you're doing high school seniors, especially. People want to know, who's this guy Alex that's going to photograph my daughter? I mean, that's a big piece of it. It doesn't matter that you have a daughter. Okay, it matters. People want to know for themselves, who are you? So, it's really, really important that you do yourself a nice headshot. And guys, I talked about this last week. I am going to make this my quest this year. So I've got 5,000 plus people, which, by the way, we topped the 5,000 mark in my Facebook group this week, which is really, really exciting. The problem of it is out of that 5,000, there's probably about 4,600 really, really bad profile pictures. I'm not kidding. So, and this is kind of the example, Alex. This is not an About picture. So 2 things about profile pictures. The first one is, come on, you're freaking photographers. Take a decent profile picture. Stop with the, yeah, but I hate being in front of the camera. Stop with the, that's why I'm a photographer, because I don't look good in front of the camera. I've used all those jokes my whole life, and look at me here, okay? Just get over it. The fact of the matter is, people want to know who you are. That's the world that we live in. That's how social media works. So don't fight it. You're not going to win that battle. So that means, number one, put your face in it. Don't make it a cartoon. Don't make it something stupid. Put your face in it. Number two, make sure that it's a close-up. Make sure that it's a really good shot and that it shows personality, energy, makes you look like somebody that would be nice and fun to work with. And then the last piece about your profile pictures, use the same profile picture on everything you publish to the web. So on all of your social media profiles, on your website, everywhere, the same profile picture. That, folks, is part of branding. You want people to recognize you immediately. If you go stalk me online, you'll see the same ugly picture on every single social media profile. So it's real easy to tell it's Joe Edelman. Done. So that's the thing that you've all got to get on board with, okay? It's all about building, quote unquote, brand recognition. That's the idea. So, Alex, we want to see your face. As far as your actual text that you have here, I'm not going to say it's horrible because it's not. You actually went to the trouble of writing a fair amount of stuff, which is good. So what I don't want to see is I don't want to see those about pages that are like, 2 sentences and just, 15 words. That doesn't work. But what I would love to see you talk more about is what it's like to work with you, why you like to do what you do. And I will point out to you, be careful because you've got some grammar issues that are in this. In the first paragraph, I have loved photography since I was a kid. You're missing a D there. Again, it's that balance of, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, people don't care about us. So in other words, they don't care that we've been at it since we were in high school and that's where we fell in love with and all that stuff. Really what they are trying to figure out is, how nice a person is this photographer? Will I enjoy working with them? Are they going to treat me well? And can they take great pictures? So remember that. When you're writing your about piece, remember that. And I've talked about this every one of these talk chats that I've done. I'll mention it again. If you are really that uncomfortable with writing your own about piece, spend a couple bucks. You can get it done really cheap. If you want the dirt cheap version, you go to a website like Fiverr.com. And for between $5 and $10, you'll get it done. To be working with somebody overseas whose language is, her primary language is probably not English, but some of them are actually really good. But you have to be, realistic about what you're getting into. If you want to do it domestically, you can go to a website like Craigslist, and they have a full section for, writers that are looking to do writing. Now, granted, most cities on Craigslist, when you click on the writing thing, what you find is people that will write term papers for college students. Or you can go to more of kind of an upscale version of Fiverr. There's a website called Thumbtack, where you'll be able to find people locally. Or you simply check out like your local newspapers, or for that matter, even your local colleges. If you have a college nearby, go to their website, find the email address for their English department, or better yet, if they have a journalism department, find the email address for that department and send them an email and just say, hey, listen, I'm looking to hire somebody to write me, a couple little things from my website. I don't have a lot of money, but I will pay them and it will be some experience for them. Boom. So if you put a little bit of effort in, it is not difficult to find a writer. And basically that person's going to need to sit down with you for, maybe half an hour or so, ask you some information so that they can get a sense of how to put it together, and then they're going to be able to write something. So you've done a good job here in terms of being able to, kind of expand on this and not make it the usual 3-sentence, I hate to talk about myself about page, Alex, but make it more about trying to give people a sense of what it will be like to work with you. And do double check your spelling. Do double check your grammar. There's a couple little things in there. And believe me, there are people that will make a harsh judgment about you because of that. And I will tell you also, you can leave out the hi, my name is, especially since you've got Alex Merg right up here. And they're on your website, Alex Merg Photography. So it's almost kind of like, redundant in that sense. You don't really need it. Okay. So, and there is one more thing about your About page I'm going to come back to in a second that I want to point out. So Project 52. So this is, what is this? In order to, this looks like you started a blog with the goal being to post stuff regularly, or is this, I guess, the idea we're doing this weekly? So, here's our hot-looking guy. So Alex, here's my problem with this. It is now January 19th, and the last update on this is January 1st, okay? And at the top it says Project 52. Here it says Project 52. And I'm not even sure what this is supposed to be. So it looks like this was an idea you had for a blog, and it just really hasn't come together. Not the first time. So honestly, don't feel bad. I've been there. I've done that. Totally. Okay. In fact, full disclosure, like I don't mind being completely honest with you guys. If you look at my website, modelingtip.com, the articles there have dates on them. I haven't added to that website since a year ago, which I'm not proud of. In fact, I've actually just hired a writer to start working with me to get that website alive again. The only reason I've left the website live is because the articles that are there are what's referred to as evergreen content, meaning they're good resource information. But in terms of my search engine rankings and that kind of stuff with Google, that site hasn't been updated for a year. It's just like the bottom's dropped out. The problem that you have when you're going to blog, understand the word blog. You should translate that in your minds. It's responsibility. In fact, it's additional responsibility. It's like, putting out 2, 3, 4, 5 videos a week and doing a tutorial and all that stuff. It's responsibility. It's a lot of work. Okay. And just like with me last week, something goes wrong, schedule goes out the window, and now here I am, this week apologizing for it, which I'm not happy about. So blogs are tough. Don't do it unless you can keep it up, first and foremost. And then indeed make sure that if you are going to do it, the thing that you did well here is you're talking about things, not just showing pictures. Okay. And by the way, Alex, you can tell your daughter I said this. She needs to smile more. She's very pretty. Smile is great, okay? So I would encourage you that if you don't feel you're at a point right now where you can really maintain this Project 52, then just turn it off for the time being. John, okay, I got the lorem ipsum part. I just didn't know it in Latin. That's all. So that's one of those classes I managed to completely skip in school. So going back to the About Me, Alex, because this is going to take us into the next piece of your review here. All the way at the bottom of your About, there's another picture down here. I didn't scroll down far enough. Okay, so we have a little photo gallery down here. And, interesting enough, Alex, I'm seeing pictures down here now that aren't anywhere on the rest of your website. And gosh, I can't see all of them. So this photo gallery, Alex, broken. Lose it. Get rid of it. This is kind of some of the stuff you run into when you're doing Squarespace, unfortunately. A lot of the stuff that they give you to use actually doesn't work unless you're going to resize your pictures. So the only way you're going to use this properly is if you resize the images to fit it specifically. And if your first response is like, oh my God, it works on my browser, on my computer, well, I'm on Safari. So that means that what's happening is Squarespace got something that's not browser compliant, all the way across the board. So I would lose this, find another solution. But some of these shots should be in your main gallery. But here's the big thing I wanted to get to. You mentioned on here, please contact me throughout social media, phone, or email. And I'm trying to click, and I can't click. I can't do that. And as I sit here right now, there's no way to contact you. And there's no link up here that says contact me. So how do I contact you? Now, I was paying attention. I did notice that all the way at the bottom of the page, there's an email and a phone number, call or text, okay? So it's good that you have that there, but do a contact page. People expect to see a contact page. So you can leave this information at the bottom. That's absolutely terrific. But people expect to see a contact page. So you've got to do that, all right? And put a form there. So you want all three options: email, form, and phone. The fact that Alex is allowing people to call or text, very, very smart. And I know a lot of people, their heads start to explode when they think about, oh my God, having people text me about pictures. Fact of the matter is, a high school senior, they'd much rather text. In fact, my college students that I'm teaching right now, so these are 19-year-olds, okay? Those 19-year-olds, I gave them the option. This is the first semester that I did it. True story. I gave them the option to, obviously they can email me. They have my phone number, or they can text me. And I told them it's absolutely fine if you text me, as long as the first time you text me, you tell me who you are, because I won't know who you are from the number. And that way I'll save your number and a contact. The very first thing they had to do was they had to go through a list of photographers, and they had to pick out a photographer that they're going to do a little presentation on. And then they had to notify me who their pick was. So it was like first come, first serve. Like over half the group texted me, like literally within the hour. 2 of them emailed, and I haven't heard from the rest. So they're all the procrastinators, period. But my bet is when I do hear from them, it's going to come in via text message, okay? So when you're dealing with teenagers, then you absolutely want to get into the text message. So that part, Alex, very, very well done. So real quick, before we dive into Alex's social media, Fernando, I have not talked in depth about Google Analytics yet. I will be doing that in the marketing series videos that are coming up. And yes, guys, there's a bunch of spelling mistakes in here that Alex is going to get on top of, because we've talked about those, and there's a couple grammar things. So you definitely want to have those checked out. So I want to get back into Alex's social media here really quick. And I've already got them open up here. So Instagram. We've got basically the usual. We've got his name. It says he's in Tampa Bay now. So one of the things that's a little confusing here, Alex, and I get it, somebody from Florida will probably not be as confused, but I would still encourage you to be consistent. On Instagram, it says you're in Tampa Bay. On your About page, it says that you're in Clearwater. And I know they're close, but they're still 2 different places. So it's one or the other, okay? The book now thing, take that out. That's like you're demanding, do it now. So no, you can't demand people do that. So get rid of that. Make that leave. Let's see. Let's just hit a post here and see what kind of information you're putting with these, if we can. Oh, there it is. Okay. So you're shouting. I've talked about this in the social media for photographers, part 1. And I also mentioned it briefly in part 2. Make sure that when you post a picture, tell a story. It doesn't have to be like a novel, but tell a story. Like, why should I care about this picture? Give me a reason to connect to this picture. Tell me why you took the picture. Tell me how much fun you had. Tell me how amazing the model was. Or in this case, if I remember right, you did this for a local designer or a clothing store. I know that, folks, because Alex is in my Facebook group, and I've seen a similar shot to this, and he did explain why. But put some information there. And all those tags, there's nothing wrong with those tags, but I'll give you guys a little Instagram tip. Don't put the tags in the post. Put one tag in the post, and then put all the tags in a comment. As long as you are the original poster, Instagram will pay attention to tags that you put in the first comment. So that way, when somebody just wants to look at your post, they don't have to, because let's face it, those tags are not there for the people viewing your pictures. Those tags are there so that people find your pictures. So when you do your post, you write a little story, put one tag at the end. And then as soon as you hit post and it goes live, immediately click the comment button, the little bubble, and do a comment with all of the tags. And that comment can be just tags. You don't have to say anything in that comment other than tags. But don't load that many tags into the actual post. There's nothing wrong with the amount of tags you have. It's just a matter of putting them in the post. You don't want to put them in the post. Separate them, okay? On Facebook, this, Alex, should be your face. So we've already established that. Put your logo over top of one of the images you've got up there. And don't make this an artsy-fartsy picture. Make this a picture that says, this is what I do, okay? So you could maybe alternate. Since you're doing portraits and weddings, maybe 1 month or 1 week, it's a wedding. 1 month or 1 week, it's a portrait, and vice versa. Or you can potentially make a collage. There are companies you can go to like Envato, who's the same company that has Steamforce, where you can actually buy templates for Facebook timeline covers and download them for like $5, $6, $12 on the high end. And you basically insert your pictures and they're pre-designed. So if we have time at the end, if you guys remind me in the comments when I get to the end, I'll actually take you and I'll show you what those look like, okay? Let's see, as we go through here, you got the link. So you don't have a lot of posts going up. In fact, this one was January 2nd. It's now the 19th. The one prior to that was December 31st. Okay, so there's a couple days apart. You've got to make sure that you're posting at least twice a week, really. I mean, if you really want to gain any traction, you got to make it twice a week, period, okay? And, you know, it's good that you're like this. I like the whole idea. It was a great opportunity. Photographed this lovely couple. The day was perfect. That's exactly what you want, okay? You've got to, again, give people a reason to think that, hey, he's an interesting guy. So you're going to tell a little bit of story. You're going to talk about how much fun you had. And then within those posts, see, the fact that this is just a picture, not cool. There should be some information there, okay? So that's really important that you get that stuff in there every time you post. It's a lot of work, gang. I'm not going to lie. But if you want your social media to pay off, then you've got to put in the effort, period, okay? So, and again, here we're saying Tampa-based photographer. So if Tampa's where it's at, then make sure it's Tampa. And what I'd rather see you do here, Alex, instead of having kind of the cute tagline, and it's not that the tagline's bad, tell me what you do. Wedding and high school senior portrait photographer, boom. Because that way it's in my face, it's simple, and it's right to the point. We all do the fluffy little things. I'm guilty of it. We all do it. But if we're being honest with ourselves, at the end of the day, we don't pay attention to that stuff ourselves. So when you're on a website like this, where everything that you do is competing for attention, make sure that you are right to the point, okay? And kind of in your face. Don't get artsy and fluffy with things. Go right at it. But definitely get your face in here, Alex. So, Alex, especially since you're a member of my group, that is your assignment for the weekend. Create a really good self-portrait that you can use on your website and in your social media, okay? And then Alex's Pinterest. So, your personal Pinterest stuff, make it a secret board. Get a profile picture up there. You know, you've got all of 6 people following you because you're not using this aggressively. And Alex, for weddings, Pinterest is where it's at. So you have got to get your Pinterest game on big time. Set up boards on here for weddings and that. But all your personal Pinterest stuff, make those boards secret. You don't need to share them with the world. Okay? In other words, use it straight up for marketing. Okay? So, you know, Alex, the great thing of it is obviously, you know, you're still in a situation where you're working a day job. You're trying to get this off the ground. So the upside is, you know, these little stumbles, if we will, these are not devastating. These are, you know, part of the learning curve, because believe me, pretty much anybody and everybody that gets into photography as a business is going to make these mistakes. I mean, let's face it, for those of you that are already working professionally or maybe working semi-pro, you've all had the realization, whether or not you're being honest with yourself or not. That realization is that professional photographers, we're all a bunch of idiots. We really are. Here's why. Bear with me for a second. We all at some point in our lives find these things called cameras. And we try it out and we develop a passion for it. How cool is it to be able to use a camera and create or to record something that's amazing? But then, for some stupid reason, we all get this really incredibly dumb idea. And suddenly we start thinking, wow, how cool would it be if I could use this camera to make money, to pay my bills, or at least to pay for more cameras? And the minute we make the decision to do that, all the rules change. Everything changes. And unfortunately, one of the things that changes now we have this huge responsibility of trying to get people to actually give us the money. And that requires all this extra effort. So, bottom line is I've never met a photographer in my entire career. I have never met a photographer that purchased a camera so that they could be a marketer and build websites and do social media. I've never met that person, okay? So this is indeed the necessary evil. So it's one of those things where it's a learning curve. It's a process. You're going to make stumbles. And the big thing is, along the way, you have to remember to kind of step back. We always understand our websites when we build them because we built them. It's our website. It's our words. It's our pictures. We always have to remember to kind of step back and put ourselves in a potential customer's shoes and understand what do they see? What are they going to experience? Okay? All right. So before we move on here, I want to tell you about one more little thing that I'm going to be giving away by the time we're done, and that is JPEG Mini. So if you are putting pictures on the web, I don't care if it's on social media, I don't care if you are building a website, but what you need to be aware of is file size. And that comes in two ways. So if you watch the Social Media for Photographers Part 2 video that I have on my YouTube channel, I talk about this. When we talk about image size online, we're talking about image size in terms of pixel dimensions, how wide, how tall, but we're also talking about file size, especially since Google is really, really pushing to speed up web pages. And that's a good thing. Google is not evil here. It's great that Google is doing that. But the point being, that means you don't want to be uploading full resolution images and you don't want to be uploading images that aren't compressed. That's the bad word. Compression can ruin an image when it's not done right. And certainly Photoshop, Lightroom, they have some compression utilities as part of the file save for web. And they're not bad. They're actually very, very good. But it still doesn't get your file super, super small. A program like JPEG Mini, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of bummed at myself, plus them just a little bit, because they've been around for a while. I only just found out about them this past October. I literally was at the Photo Plus Expo in New York. They had a booth there, and I saw it, kind of glanced at it, didn't talk to the guy, didn't spend a whole lot of time looking at it. But when I came home, I happened to stumble on an ad for them again, and then I went and I sat down and I started reading it. So they have a free download where you can download the program. It's a fully functional version that will let you compress 200 images before you have to buy it. I tried it out, and it is awesome. It'll compress images down by just about 80%, which is a huge reduction. And the most important part, there is no discernible loss in image quality at all. In fact, if you check them out, both on their website and on YouTube, you'll find where they've done some tests with people that are high-end printers that are able to really, really, really pick things out of an image. And they basically put these people to test to see if they could tell which images were printed from a JPEG mini file and which images were printed from a full res file that was uncompressed. And these people had an extremely difficult time being able to discern between the two. So again, free trial, 200 images. They have a version of the program that is $99, which will allow you 3 versions of it. And when I say 3 versions, what I mean is there's a standalone program that you can take your files and kind of drag and drop. Or there's a Lightroom plugin and also a Photoshop plugin. And that's what I love. I use the Photoshop plugin since I'm a Photoshop guy. So when I'm done editing my file in the PSD format, literally all I have to do is one click. Save with JPEG Mini. It goes ahead, it does all the compression, and then it just asks me where you want me to save it. Done. That's it. So really, really awesome. I encourage you to check them out. Try the free trial. If you want to take a shot at winning one, stay tuned until the very end of this episode, and I'm going to tell you how you can win a free license for JPEG Mini. Okay? So our next photographer, also from Florida. So as we continue our Florida day, and actually let me get to Delbert's homepage here. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Still on the wrong page. That's not his homepage. There it is. Okay. So Delbert Tucker is from a town called Navarre, Florida. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. So the information that Delbert gave me, he is an Air Force veteran. So Delbert, thank you for your service. He describes himself as kind of an IT geek. He started photography as a teenager, but he's really only been shooting seriously for the last 3 years. He's doing some paid work. He's looking to transition to full-time, hopefully in about 2 years when he'll be retiring from civil service. So that's cool. So this is basically, we're looking at a 2-year plan for Delbert in terms of how he gets ready to be able to make money as a photographer, well, full-time as a photographer. So he started his first website using WordPress and decided that was too much work, which it can be. WordPress is a great platform, but indeed it's a platform where you're going to have to learn a little bit and you're going to have to do some of the work. He currently uses Zenfolio, which was recommended to him by a friend. He's thinking about moving to Squarespace, but he's not sure if there's that much of a difference to make it worth the change. In my opinion, Delbert, if you're going to make a change like that, I would send you to Format. Obviously, as I've explained before, I use Format. I'm a big fan of those. But stay tuned for the marketing video that's coming up about the domain names and the websites, and you'll have a much better understanding as to why. I won't break it all down now. I really want to be able to get into your website, okay? So Delbert, what he's trying to accomplish here and what he wants to learn, he is looking to make money shooting people. He wants them obviously to be after him for pictures for profiles, social media, whatever they need. Right now, by his own admission, he's a little bit all over the place and kind of trying to build out his skills. So as he refers to it, which I think is a great way to refer to this, he is looking to find his compass for photography. Head north and then get paid for what he loves to do. So he will be retiring in 2 years from his second career in his life after the military and with enough money to survive. So he's really looking to be able to make this something that is both fun and profitable. Okay, so that being said, Delbert, obviously, what we have here, we have a full screen design. We know that we are on a templated site at Zenfolio, which, similar to Squarespace, okay? I will tell you right out of the box, your logo is very, very hard to read, in particular because of the image that it's sitting on top of. So if you want to keep the logo that way, I would encourage you to tweak the logo or tweak the picture and put a different picture there that's going to be a lighter background so it shows up, okay? That being said, I will also, because I do see like in your little watermarks, sometimes you have the watermark white, sometimes you have the watermark black, so that's fine. I will point out to you that your watermark on this image is different than your watermark on this image, which is actually also a different size than your watermark on this image. So one thing's and it's a lot different than the watermark on this image. So if you've watched any of these reviews that I do with any consistency, you all know that I hate watermarks, okay? Completely. So watermarks are annoying. They're a distraction. They get in the way. These little watermarks that you have here, Delbert, if I wanted to steal your picture, that watermark goes away in 5 seconds. Like, there's really no effort behind it. So you're not saving anything. Plus, I'm on your website. So don't watermark your images, okay? So that's really the first most important thing that I'm going to tell you here is definitely lose that, okay? As far as your logo goes, so here, let me go to a page where we can actually see Delbert's logo. So here's his logo up at the top. So, and I don't mean this in a bad way or an insulting way, Delbert, but this is clearly kind of like a self-done logo. In other words, it doesn't quite have the polish of a professionally designed one, and not everybody's got the money for that. If you guys heard me talk in the last episode when I was speaking about my logo, I designed my own logo, the one that I've been using since I came back into photography in the digital realm. I designed it in 1999 and basically used that same logo with a few small tweaks along the way up until December of this past year when I worked with Roberto Pinto to redesign my logo and kind of, take it forward with a new kind of more fun look. So based on the idea of, shall we say, assuming that you don't want to spend a lot of money on a logo design at this point, Delbert, I would say the concept for your logo is fine, but I would encourage you to do a few simple things. So number one, take the copyright symbol out of it, because generally people don't put a copyright symbol in a logo. There's really kind of no purpose for it. The other thing, number two, is get some space between your photo and the text, like a lot more space, okay? Let things breathe. You don't want to get things so crammed up and tight together that you can't really read the stuff easily. And then the last piece I'm going to give you, Delbert, is don't look so serious and intense. It's kind of scary, okay? you want to photograph people. Show some energy, show some personality. Get out from behind the camera. I get it. When you're photographing them, that's what they're going to see is you behind the camera. But people want to know who you are. And believe me, I've done this same kind of headshot before in my life. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I did it when I was about 16 years old, but that was a headshot that I used for a lot of years was, the camera over one eye, looking really serious. I think every photographer at some point in their career does that headshot. But the world's changing, and the way social media is, especially, you want people to be able to see you. So get a shot in that logo. If you're going to keep the picture in the logo, that's fine because the business is your name, which I think is really good, but make it a little happier, a little bit more, energetic as far as that goes. So, we've got some nice colorful imagery. The watermarks is an easy fix, Delbert. That would be my big suggestion there. As I look through these images on the first page, I'm not entirely clear as to what kind of photography you're doing because there's actually a pretty broad range here. But let's come back to that after we look through things. And then one thing to be careful about templates like this, if I happen to stop on this image, I can't read your navigation at all. So this is one of the challenges of using themes on websites that are full browser themes. Number one, you've got to use large image files to make it work, which slows down your page speed. And, depending on the picture, things don't work out from one picture to the next. So you've got to be careful of that. The fact that you've only got the 4 links, very, very good. Here's another reason not to watermark, by the way. See, I get to here, and now I've got your logo twice. So it's just, there's all this chaos going on that's got nothing to do with your photography. So you want to get rid of that stuff. So having the 4 links is very good. Short, simple, sweet, to the point, exactly what you want to have, okay? When I mouse over portfolio, now I see, okay, so you do portraits, events, family, and engagements and weddings. I would drop the word sessions, okay? You're a portrait photographer. That's cool. So put an S on the end of portraits, make it portraits and events. Family, I'm assuming, is family portraits. Let's just see that. Yeah, it is. So if you're finding that's a really big category for you, then that's totally fine. You could leave that kind of as a separate thing, but I would definitely drop the session. So let's just click on one of these galleries here and let's see what we get. So it's kind of the large thumbnails, which is absolutely fine. I don't know that you need to call it client. Again, I would drop that. It would be nice to have a little bit of text on here. So most themes in a scenario like this, they'll allow you to drop in a paragraph or two kind of up at the top. Not a ton of text because here, I'm going to contradict myself, right? You want to put some text in just to give the page a little bit of flavor. But the reality of it is nobody wants to read the text. So I know it's like, well, why would you do it? Well, in part, you're going to do it for search engines. Okay. So at least a couple sentences that basically, again, don't do the here are my portraits or here are portraits of people that hired me. No. Do a sentence or two about why you love doing portraits, why, portraits are such a fun thing for you and how you would like to work with the person that's reading your page. Okay. Take that approach to it. So when I click on a thumbnail, up comes the shots. Not so sure I'm digging the buy thing, Dilbert. If you can tell me that you're selling lots of prints this way, in other words, like, some guy's going to come on here and buy a picture of this girl. Plus, I'm assuming that this girl's okay with it. So what happens if I try to buy it? So up comes there, and I can buy all these prints. So I guess my question would be like, does this young lady know that some guy like in, Russia can buy a 20 by 30 print of her and hang it on his wall? And if that happens, does she get a piece of it or that kind of thing? So just at least make sure that if you're going to sell your pictures as though they're artwork, make sure that your subjects are on board with that. In other words, make sure you have releases that allow you to do that, etc. Otherwise, you can kind of get yourself into a lot of trouble. If this page is meant to be just your portfolio, make it a portfolio. Get this buy stuff off of there, okay? I don't imagine people buying these pictures to hang on their wall, unless they're in the picture. If they're in the picture, that's different, but do that through proofs, okay? So, having like select photos and buy and create a book, like, I mean, maybe you sold some books. I hate to sound so skeptical, but I'm kind of thinking, who the hell's going to want to buy a book of your pictures? Like, and I don't mean that the pictures are bad. I just mean why. So I would be very cautious about that stuff. A lot of times I find people will put those links on there because they can, not because they actually expect to, but they think, hey, if somebody buys one, I'll take the $50 I need or that I'll make, from it. But here's the thing. Maybe along the way, somebody does buy one and you make that $50. You're actually going to turn away a lot of people in the meantime. So I really would. I would encourage you to drop that stuff completely, unless you can tell me that you're selling a ton of books and a sell of prints. That's great if you are. But the other thing that I find a little concerning here is when I click on, so here, let me go back into this gallery. When I click on your logo, I go back to the real home page. When I click on home, I go back to, there it is, home there. I go back to a gallery. That's confusing and misleading. So if you are able to remove this home link, remove it, or if you can't remove it, see if you can readdress it so that it goes to the index page instead of this P104. This is one of the things that I don't like about these templated websites, and one of the reasons why I do like format, because on format my URLs stay where they should stay. I don't wind up on some numbered page. But with all this stale stuff on here, make sure that you have modeling releases and people's permission. Doug Thompson's asking, he owns the copyright, right? Well, unfortunately, copyright's not the issue here, Doug. It's a matter of the modeling release. You can't sell and profit on these images unless you've got a release, unless you're willing to risk having a lawsuit, come at you. So that's basically just playing with fire as far as that goes. So just make sure you've got, got everything covered in that sense, Delbert. Okay. Events, be really careful about your events. So when I click on events, I've only got 6 pictures to look at, or actually, are there more? I see. So it's six events. So let me back up. You definitely need more text here then, because part of the problem is, like, when I first come to this page, it feels like, okay, there's his portfolio, which is really unimpressive, like really unimpressive. Here's a picture of a tablecloth, because that's all that I see in that picture. So this is fine that you can click and go into these galleries, but make sure you tell me that. Short, sweet, concise, to the point. And then also, hopefully, this website will let you do that. I don't know if they will, but they should allow you to be able to decide which picture is the cover picture. So you've got to actually pick some cover pictures that are interesting. So here, just for the sake of it, let's click on this gallery. So, we can go from the table. Any of these pictures of the people having fun, or even like this shot of the guy, doing the muscles, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be a lot more interesting up on the front, or, we get the 3 hot chicks together, whichever. That's going to be a lot more interesting than the table pictures. So if they will let you modify the cover shot, you should definitely do that. Okay. And again, with the purchasing thing, make sure that you are being sanctioned by these events and it's okay for you to be selling print. You can cause yourself a lot more trouble than it's worth if you're not kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's on this kind of stuff. If you're doing this as an event photographer and the deal is people can come purchase them, you would be better off to have a separate section of your website that's a client section. And then that way people are essentially coming to look for the proofs from, the event that they were at and make their purchases there, which would definitely clarify things a lot more for you. It's under portfolio, so I expect these to be like the best pictures you've ever taken, and they're not all the best pictures that you've ever taken. At least not from what I'm seeing, they're not the best pictures you've ever taken. So I don't want to see them as your portfolio. When I think of a portfolio, I want you to be trying to impress me and show me the best stuff that you have. So I really think you need to kind of restructure what you're doing here in that sense, okay? So yeah, see, now when I'm in this gallery, and this is, so they're all different, and that's problematic because you're going to confuse your end user. When I hit weddings and engagements, now it's a single picture. But when I hit events, it's not a single picture, it's a gallery. So it's another gallery. So that's definitely something. Is this the same, or are these single pictures, or this is a gallery? Now, see, this is a gallery. So, yeah, I mean, under your portfolio, Delbert, you don't want to be showing all these pictures, because when I look at, like, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 pictures of basically the same thing. So it's that whole thing. If you can look like a rock star with 1, or look like a hack with 5, or a rock star with 5 and look like a hack with 10, these are proofs that you're putting up here. Don't put proofs in your portfolio. Put proofs in a client section. That's going to be really important. Okay, so let's click on services. So portrait sessions, keeping it simple. Pretty much all your sessions are like the same, pricing structure. Okay, so you're up in the top of Florida. You're in Pensacola, up that area. That's where Navarre is. I see it. All right. Consultation and 50% of the session fee are required to reserve your session. Good. Printed and digital products available, and the cost: 45 minutes to an hour and a half. $300. I would really aggressively encourage you to tweak that. The difference between 45 minutes and an hour and a half is double the amount of time. So why would I pay $300 and only get 45 minutes? Like, I better get the hour and a half. So why not change it to say up to an hour and a half? And then, God forbid, if you get done 30 minutes and the client's happy, wonderful. But yeah, so I would take out that bottom piece there, okay? And I don't know that I would call it basic and minimal, but here's the thing. These prices shouldn't be here, period. What should be here is sessions start for as little as $75. If you want to put some kind of pricing in to give people a sense of what you charge, sessions begin at $75, okay? And that's it. Contact me for more details, okay? So, and at that point, then they're going to click on the contact link, and you've got, city and state here, which that's fine. You've mentioned it several times. Phone, send a message, visit website. Yep. So that's the idea. Like, follow, Instagram. We'll look at those. So that part's all fine. But really at the end of, whoops, sorry, I was back on services. At the end of the services page, I should be able to click right away and go ahead and get the information. Costs associated with usage or access, and also even the consultation fees and that kind of stuff, I would honestly say get those off the website, period. Okay? Because those are all rules. And at this point, we're just trying to get people interested in talking to you. You want people to reach out to you so that you can sell them. The thing that all of you need to understand, I was just asked this question last night. I met someone, a conversation came up, and they asked if I do weddings. And I always had this kind of knee-jerk reaction. It's like, God, thank God, no. Just to be clear, I have mad respect for people that do weddings. Mad respect. But there's a simple fact. Wedding photographers, good wedding photographers, the best wedding photographers, they don't make money taking pictures. They make money selling pictures. So, you guys got to understand, part of the reality of this photography stuff, now that you got this dumb idea to pay your bills taking pictures, you've got to want to talk to people. You've got to make yourself available. You've got to be willing to have a conversation. And basically, you're selling yourself first because people are hiring you. So that's really the key. So Delbert, I would strip most of this out. You can put a base price in. That's fine. If all of it, so this is my usual disclaimer. If every other portrait and wedding photographer in Pensacola and Navarre and Fort Walton and Destin, if every single other one is putting their rates on their website, then unfortunately, yes, you should go ahead and ignore what I said a moment ago, and you should put your rates on the website. My hunch is they're not. So that being said, I would not advertise your rates. And part of the reason for that is, Delbert, what you're going to find is when you are no longer receiving a paycheck from the day job, even though you've been very smart and saved well and you're prepared for retirement, if you're going to do this as a business, you're not charging enough. So, and the way your rates are put together is you're really encouraging people not to spend a lot of money with you. But $300 to do an hour and a half shoot plus prep 20 images, you're not even making $5 an hour. Not if you're doing good work. So yeah, you've got to work on raising your rates, which means you don't want to advertise your rates. You don't want to put those rates out on the web, because then it makes it harder to increase your rates. Okay, and I'm going to be doing a whole video on kind of the philosophy behind rates. Everybody wants me to say charge this. I can't do that, and I'm not going to do that because there's so many variables. But what I am going to do in the video is really get to the psychology behind charging rates. Because believe me, there are tons of people out there that have done videos and articles that say you should charge people this way. You should use this mathematical equation this way. You should do this. All of it's right and all of it's crap. Meaning it doesn't do you any good if you don't really understand the concept of how you motivate people to spend money and how you really look at your time. So that's really where I'm going to approach it. And then I'm also going to kind of at least touch base on a lot of the different metrics that are commonly used to sort out pricing. But, there's no way for me to tell you this is what you should price, because obviously it's going to be different from town to town, photographer to photographer, et cetera, et cetera. But there are certain guidelines that just come down to kind of really simple, basic math. And this is kind of a good example. If you're doing good work, 20 images that are prepped and retouched is going to take you several hours to do, and then an hour and a half to shoot. You've got your drive time, your setup time, you've got your time to unpack your gear, all that kind of stuff. You're literally going to be working for like next to nothing. So I would not put your prices out there. You're going to want to start to work your prices up over time. Okay. So your about page, Dilbert. Let's hit that, and then we're going to wrap up with your social media, and I'll have some time for some questions, okay? Pretty much your about page is not an about page. It's a picture of Delbert Page. So Delbert, definitely, I would encourage you, man. You're a good-looking guy. Like, reshoot your headshot, okay? So that's also, just like with Alex in the beginning of the video, that is your homework assignment for the weekend. Self-portrait, show some energy, show some personality, okay? Like, do a picture that's going to make people want to know Delbert and want to have him photograph them. That simple. You don't have to have a camera in the picture. You can if you really think you need to, but no, okay? People know that you're photographers. Why? Because they're on your website that says all about photography. So that's for all of you folks out there, by the way, okay? And we've all been there. I've done it. I told you guys earlier, like I started out my career, every picture I ever took, I had a camera in my hand because I thought it looked cool. In today's world, the way the marketing is, you don't need that. People want to see you. Okay, that's what they want. But definitely, as I explained with Alex, and if I explained in the other videos, Delbert, you need to write something for the about page, or you need to hire somebody, spend a couple bucks, get it done. Makes all the difference in the world. Really, really important. Okay. All right. So looking at Delbert's social media here, Pinterest. When we first get to it, it's looking really cool. So obviously we have a different profile picture here. So as we've talked about, that is going to go all the way along. What I would encourage you, Delbert, since you're using Pinterest for marketing now and to try and get your business going, leave out the computer geek part. By all means, leave in retired Air Force. So, the neat part of it is obviously in history, veterans have had their ups and downs in terms of how well the general population cares for them, receives them, etc. So the upside is right now, it's actually cool to be a veteran. And especially from a business standpoint, it's cool to be a veteran. So hell yes. You raise that up the flagpole, and I've consulted with numerous veterans in the last year. I had them all do the same thing, and it's really, really important. You raise that up the flagpole. You wear that like a badge of honor, which you do, obviously, and should. But by all means, let people know you are a veteran. But the computer geek part has really nothing to do with what you're selling. But here's one big problem, Delbert. I'm pretty sure that a lot of these pictures are not yours. Okay? This board is yours because it says Delbert Tucker Photography. All these others, I did click on a couple and what came up with other photographers. So basically, from your website, so you work hard to get people to come to your website, you encourage them to click on Pinterest, and now you're encouraging them to go look at other photographers. That's really bad. So you need to make sure that you make all these other boards private, or as Pinterest calls them, secret boards, and you only display your work. And then do, based on the same categories as your website, make sure that you have a set of boards for portraits. Make sure you have a set of boards for events, a set of boards for family portraits, and a set of boards for engagements and weddings, okay? So split it up. keep the same terminology. So guys, one of the big things with branding, it's all about consistency. You use the same terminology all across the board. You use the same profile picture all across the board. When you print out your website name like this, Delbert, capitalize the D, capitalize the T, capitalize the P. It's going to be easier to read that your name is in there. Some people are going to tell you your whole domain name's too long. It's absolutely not too long. It's simple and it's intuitive. If DelbertTucker.com is available, buy it. For the extra $12, make DelbertTucker.com your primary and have DelbertTuckerPhotography.com point to it. But if it's not, no sweat. Just make sure that when you print out the full name, capitalize the D, the T, the P. Domain names are not case sensitive, okay? Only the subdirectories and file names are case sensitive, all right? So that is Pinterest. Instagram. So at least we have the consistency here. This is the same picture for the website. That's good. Portrait lifestyle photographer. That's fine. Computer geek. We already know we're going to leave that out. Using the little emojis, by the way, on Instagram, totally cool because Instagram's all about emojis, okay? I did not see this picture on your website, Delbert, and this is a really cool shot. So how the heck? Oh, okay, wait a minute. That's not yours. So let's leave that there. So I hope, Delbert, that you have that photographer's permission to put that on your Instagram, because if you don't, I'm not going to lie to you, man. That's kind of not cool, all right? And honestly, even if you do have her permission, I don't know why the heck you would want to put another photographer's photo on your Instagram. It's misleading, and it doesn't represent you. So I'd be really, really careful with that, okay? But on your posts, so, you know, you've got at least a little bit of text here, which is good. But just like I talked about with Alex, all of these tags, get them in the first comment. Talk a little bit more about her, because it's a great shot. It's a beautiful girl, but yeah, you need a little bit more content to go with these, okay? But definitely there's a little more consistency here, other than the fact that you need to do it more often, okay? Here's a shot of you. You kind of went the other extreme with the glasses. You got to find that balance. Make sure people can see your eyes, see what you look like, okay? And then Facebook. Let's see. Let's get back up here at the top. So, all right, good. We have at least the same headshot, so we're keeping the consistency here. We've got some ratings. That's very good, and they're 5 stars. Excellent. Photos. These are like event photos. Again, don't post so many photos from an event. Pick the stuff that is like the best stuff, the stuff that people are going to look at and say, wow. This is not a picture that people are going to look at and say, wow. So, that kind of stuff is really, really important. Your comments, you're putting a fair amount of text in them, which is really good. That's exactly what you need. You need to have that text in there. So definitely just be careful with the event stuff. Only your best stuff should go forward. And even, I know, you've got 2 years lead time. So the good part is, you're not out there relying on this yet. Even like with your event stuff, be careful about color balance in that. This is all stuff that can be fixed. So this shot's kind of very yellow. You want to get some of that yellow out. And trust me, I get it. The bodybuilder chicks, they do like that crazy tanning stuff on their skin. But I'm seeing a lot of yellow even where the whites in that are. So you just want to tweak that a little bit. So I mean, overall, you've got the right things in place. You just need to kind of get your brand a little bit more cohesive, bring things together, solidify it a little bit more, and definitely you got to write something for the about page. That's going to be really, really, really important. Okay, guys, so a couple quick things here, and then I want to answer some questions for you. So remember, our sponsor today was Get.Space. So .space is a domain extension, and it's becoming very, very popular amongst designers, photographers, coworkers, all that kind of stuff. Somebody asked me earlier, and I apologize because I know that the question went by. Let me see if I can find it really quick, and I'm probably not going to. Somebody asked me about how I would use .space. I have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 45 domain names. I am not saying that you need to buy 45 domain names, so don't panic, okay? But what I am encouraging you to do is buy the most relevant ones. So certainly, if your name is available, and even though Dot Space is my sponsor, they know that I'm going to be completely honest with you folks about what I feel is best for your business. So here's the way that I recommend things. If you can get .com, get .com. That is certainly the biggest that's out there. But the problem with .com is it's really hard to get it right now. Plus, then you have .photo, .photography, and .camera, okay? Or actually, .photos. Sorry, it's plural, .photos. I wouldn't get .photos unless it's just like a portfolio website and nothing else, not trying to do business, whatever, because photos, plural, is not really intuitive to what you're doing. Photography is kind of intuitive, but the problem that you have with photography is that it's also this really long word to add on if you have a fairly long name. You can wind up with a really, really long domain name, which you want to try and avoid wherever possible, okay? .space is a little bit more generic, but again, as the name becomes more popular, which it is, you'll see more and more and more creatives using it, and you see more and more people aware that, okay, that's a creative kind of name. All the domains that I have, I use them in different ways. So for instance, actually, if you guys look in the description of the video, you'll notice that all the links are http tog.chat. So I have the domain extension chat so that I could do short links so that I didn't have to put long links in. If you go to joeedelman.space, it rolls over to my main website. So it's really a matter of making sure that what you're doing is you're protecting your brand. That's the really, really big part. So like if you already have .com, I would encourage you, purchase .photography for photographers, okay? Purchase .photography, purchase .space, because these are the domain names that are being used by creators, by photographers. So you want to make sure that if there's another person out there, because ironically, even Joe Edelman, there's like 3 that I know of, 3 other Joe Edelmans that are photographers. Needless to say, they all really hate me because I own like every Joe Edelman domain name that exists, okay? As far as all the important stuff, I've got them all. That's why I have like 40-some names. I've got them all locked up. I've got the .coms, the .nets, the .orgs. I have the .photo. I've got .space, tons of them. And if you have a name that has a common misspelling in it, like with my name, Joe Edelman, there's 2 E's in the middle. People will frequently type J-O-E-D and leave out one of the E's. So if you type my name with just 1 E, it'll still go to joeedelman.com. I have that domain and it's set to forward. So that's why you're going to pick up, all the different domain names. So again, it's something, it's a growing space. I'm not going to tell you that, oh my God, you have to have this today or you're really screwing things up. No, but I am going to tell you this is becoming a very popular domain extension for creatives in general. And, for all of $12 a year, and by the way, you can get it for much less than that if you follow the link that's in the description below. And if you do what I'm going to tell you to do at the very end, you'll have an opportunity to win a full year's registration. But I would encourage you to consider it. And then, of course, JPEG Mini, okay? So a couple of questions that have gone by here, and I want to make sure that I answer these for you guys. And let me bring it back to the big screen here, okay, so that we can look at this stuff. So Omar asked me if I have a group in 500 pixels to be able to share images. Omar, I don't. And I'll be honest with you, while that is a great idea on one hand, it's an idea that would honestly just crush me on the other. I have a Facebook group. You can learn, or you can find the link for my Facebook group in the description right below the video. We just topped out 5,000 members yesterday. So this is a group, it's huge, it's growing. And if you are not a member yet, let me toot my own horn for a second, okay? It's a really cool group because it's very, very different. I had this crazy idea last summer about how I wanted a Facebook group to run. And honestly, I thought that people would just say, man, this is way too much of a pain in the ass. I'm not going to do this. And I was wrong. And I'm so glad I'm wrong. So when people post photographs in my group, they don't just stick a picture there and leave it, or stick a picture there and type CC welcome. If you guys have watched my videos, hopefully you know that that's not going to work with me. In order to post a picture in my group, it takes a lot of work. literally a lot of work. They have to post all the specs, the shutter speeds, apertures, all that stuff. That's very helpful stuff. But more importantly, they have to tell us about the picture. And when I say tell us about it, I want to know for every picture that goes up in my Facebook group, why did you take the shot? What was your goal? What were you trying to accomplish? How did you do it? What problems did you encounter, and how did you overcome those problems? I want to know how and where did you set the lights, your reflectors, etc. And better yet, why? I want to know, are you happy with the outcome? What about the subject? Since it's a people photography group, is the subject happy with the outcome? And then last but not least, if you could do it again, if you could revisit that entire situation again, what would you do differently? So what I didn't tell people when I started the group is that I had this kind of long-term vision for it. And honestly, I thought that this group would maybe pick up a couple hundred people, and that would be great, and that would be the end of it. But I finally started pointing out to people kind of the real benefit from the group a few weeks ago, and people started to get even more excited. And now there's even more photographs that are being posted in the group. Because for those of you, in fact, let me bring it up here real quick. For those of you that are not that maybe familiar with Facebook and Facebook groups and how they work, okay, I'll give you a little peek inside my group right now. So this is as it sits at the moment. So here's the inside of the I Shoot People Photographers group. You can tell it's kind of popular. We've got 56 people waiting to get in today, okay? But most people, when they come to these groups, they just kind of scroll down through the wall and they see a lot of really cool pictures and all that kind of stuff. But you'll see here. So I'm just going to pick one at random. Here's a post from Dirk Kaiser, who's a regular in my group. Look at all the information he's given us on this picture, okay? But here's what I was really trying to achieve with this group. If you go up to the top of the group, and you can actually access this in the mobile app as well, and if you click on the Photos tab, now you can go down through the wall and you see all the pictures that have ever been posted. But here's the cool part. If you're a new or young photographer, if you're trying to build your skills and you're looking for ideas and you're trying to figure out how to do things, you can come to this wall. You can scroll down this wall and you can say to yourself, I really like, let's see, this style of photo. And now, when you click on that photo, you've got all the details about how that photo was done, how it was lit, what the purpose was, what the goals were, everything. So essentially, the 5,000 people that are in this group, and James Parrish, you're correct, thank you. You just got it. James Parrish just said it's like a book of photography. That's right. These 5,000 people are essentially building their own reference book for great people photography. So certainly, and I apologize, it was Omar, that's right. 500 pixels, they would allow us to post bigger images and all that kind of stuff. And guys, I apologize. I didn't actually show you the inside of the group now that I went down the wall. I am so sorry. Let's do this again really quick. That's what happens when Joe gets all excited about that stuff and doesn't actually pay attention to the computer screen. So I pointed out when you go through the group, you see the pictures. That's all really cool. But when we were in it a few moments ago, I clicked on a picture that was posted. Let me find Dirk's picture. So Dirk's a regular. Here's the shot he just posted. I wanted you to see how much information goes with that post. So it's like a little mini encyclopedia just about that post. And that's where everybody kind of checks in is on the timeline. But the cool part about groups, if you use them right, and this is where this group really excels, if you click on the Photos tab up at the top, and you can access this through the Facebook app on your phones, now you can see all the images. So if you're a new or young photographer and you're looking to learn, you can go through this wall and you see an image that's similar to what you would like to shoot. All you have to do is click on the image, and now you've got all the details about how to create this image. And because the photographer is sharing what they did, how they did it, and why they did it, you're able to avoid a lot of the beginner mistakes. So essentially what we have here is we have 5,000 people, more than that, contributing to essentially an encyclopedia about photography that you can use as a visual reference. So indeed, 500 pixels, their groups are really cool in that, but Facebook is accessible to more people. It's just easier. Everybody's on Facebook. Everybody's, interacting with Facebook. So that's why I decided to go that route. And I apologize, guys, for making you listen to that twice while I wasn't showing you the page. So, So anyway, guys, are there any other questions? I'll give you just a second here. If you've got a couple other questions, go ahead and throw them in there, and I will do my best. We'll go a couple minutes over. That's all right. I'll do my best to answer them for you. I will remind you that in the description section below is a link so that you can submit your website for review. And hopefully by now, if you guys have watched more than one of these, Tog Chats along the way, whether it's the Monday ones where I am looking at photographs or the Thursday ones where I'm looking at websites, I'm not going to be a jerk to anybody about their pictures or their websites. I'll be completely honest with you when stuff needs to be worked on. But the goal is to be able to grow. It's to get better. And that's exactly, what I'm trying to do. Anthony had a question. Anthony, I think you posted this before because I saw those letters scroll by. What do I think about groups like the PPA and APA? I highly recommend them. So let me give you a little bit more background, though. I happen to be a member of PPA. So for those of you that don't know, PPA is a group called the Professional Photographers of America. The good part is you don't actually have to be a professional to be a member of PPA. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring their website up here really quick, and I'll make sure I switch the screen so you guys can actually see it, okay? Let's get the change over here. Okay, maybe I will switch the screen so that you can see it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. This is the PPA website. On the front end, nothing like, fancy, but I just want you to be able to see the website and their link. It's www.ppa.org. So it's Professional Photographers of America. PPA is a group that, number one, has excellent learning opportunities. Plus, you can also go through a certification process with PPA and become a certified photographer and then eventually even become a master photographer. That's an option if you are into that and if those kind of labels and educational processes are important to you. The primary reason, full disclosure, that I am a member of PPA, one, they hire me from time to time to do talks. But number two, and this is the big one, the equipment insurance. As a PPA member, you get equipment insurance built into your membership that in most cases is actually better than what you get with your homeowners, like if you have your gear attached to your homeowners and that kind of stuff. They also have a legal team that helps out if you have a legal problem before you run off and spend your own money on a lawyer. They will give you basic legal assistance to at least point you in the right direction, to give you a sense of how you should, deal with things. So I highly recommend these. The other thing that you want to look into, though, Anthony, before you make your final decision, because obviously I'm not familiar with the local branches of PPA and APA in your area in California. Around the country, again, I'll be completely honest, I don't play the games. And Greenlight, even ASMP. So ASMP is the American Society of Media Photographers. Great organization. Here's the thing you need to look into, guys, with all these organizations. Most of them at the national level are very, very good. But understand, at the national level, they're kind of there for everybody. So really, at the national level, they're a resource. They're going to have online learning materials. They're going to have support materials, that kind of stuff. And you get a cool certificate. Obviously, none of you wants to spend your money just for that. So what really matters is the local branch. So like, for instance, in my area, ASMP, the American Society of Media Photographers, the Philadelphia group, which is the closest to me, really great group. Awesome people, very engaged, very involved. They really advocate for photographers. This is going to get me in a lot of trouble, but I'll be honest. The PPA group in Pennsylvania, I've been a member of PPA now for a bunch of years. I've never heard a peep out of any of them. They never even contacted me to talk to them or to come to one of their events. Not because I'm Joe Edelman on YouTube, but just even as a member. Never heard from them. But I will tell you by comparison, one of the greatest PPA groups that I have ever encountered in all my travels around the country is in North Carolina. PP of NC is their full initial designation. It's Professional Photographers in North Carolina. Great group. So guys, what you want to do is certainly look at the groups based on their national websites to see who's offering the things you like, but then contact the local group. And I would actually encourage you to ask them, because most of them will let you, ask them when their next event is, whether it's a meeting or that type of stuff, and ask them if you can go and attend just to observe. Most of them will say yes, just like camera clubs do. They'll let you attend a meeting or two just to get a sense of it. I would absolutely encourage you to do that, because if the local group is not very active and there's not a lot going on, you're really not going to get your full value out of that group. And so, unfortunately, as much as I'm a big fan of PPA, the simple fact is, in some areas, it's a much better organization than others. But yeah, I'm a big fan of them. Yosef is asking, what do I think about the online educational websites popular these days? Do I think it's a good idea to enroll in one of them? I will tell you honestly, Yosef, it's kind of a mixed bag. So two of the more popular ones are like Kelby One, and then of course there's like lynda.com, and then if you're more Photoshop focused, you've got Flern, which is also very good. The challenge that you have with them is they're not necessarily set up at your speed, at your pace, and at your level. Now, don't get me wrong, Kelby One, especially, and lynda.com, those are both really, really excellent learning platforms. Flern, I've never been a member of Flern or paid for their stuff, but everybody talks about how great their stuff is, and their free ones are very good. But I will say that one of the realities, and I think this is showing, now I don't know any factual information here, so I'm just hypothesizing, so that's my disclaimer. But if any of you pay attention, over the last year or so, Kelby One has downsized a lot. A lot of Kelby's original instructors that really helped him build the platform, they're off doing other things now. And my understanding is he had to kind of let them all go. I have a feeling he got a little too big, too fast, and couldn't support it. And part of the reason for that is it's people like me. If you're willing to put in a little bit of effort, there is a lot of really, really great free learning material on YouTube. But just like with the YouTube photographers, and I'm not poaching in anybody here, guys, so don't even start typing names, please, okay? But there are some that are really good, there are some that are not so good. And that opinion is going to vary from person to person. A lot of it is just who can you connect with? Who do you enjoy learning from? Who do you find interesting to listen to? And who is talking about the stuff that you want them to talk about? So the challenge in finding the good free stuff, you may have to watch a bunch of videos about the same topic until you find somebody that, wow, they make sense. I like the way they teach. And then you go check out a couple of their other videos and you find out, cool, I like following this person. So if you're just looking at for the online education piece, I would honestly tell you, stick with YouTube. It's free. There's damn good stuff out there for free. You're just going to have to put in a little bit of effort to sift through all the noise to find it. That would be my advice, okay? The question about back button focusing. Don't hate me, but I'm going to leave that one for a Monday. So come watch on Monday, and I'll talk about camera stuff on Monday. I promise, okay? So let's see here. Any tips for finding people willing to be photographed? Model Mayhem has been difficult to use. John, without going off on a complete tangent, I'll tell you this, and I'm going to make this my last question for today, guys, okay? If you're having a hard time using Model Mayhem, it's your fault, John, okay? Everybody complains about Model Mayhem. And everybody that I talk to that complains about Model Mayhem, if I get them to have a conversation with me and break down how they use it and their steps, I can usually point out to them really easy where they went awry. And it usually comes back to people being lazy. Not intentionally lazy, not like, oh my God, you're stupid or what. No, but just if you use Model Mayhem and you just rely on the messaging systems and that kind of stuff, you have to realize that the people that are on Model Mayhem are amateurs, number one. A lot of them are young girls, especially if you're talking to models, are young girls that are just looking to have some fun. They want to feel good about themselves because they get attention doing it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean good for them. So the way that you make Model Mayhem work for you is you have to be very professional and treat it professionally, which means you're going to get off of Model Mayhem as soon as you can. Once you've found somebody, you've got to get them on the phone. You've got to actually have a conversation with them. Better yet, meet them. In other words, you've got to put in extra effort. If you're just going to go to a site like Model Mayhem or any site, I don't want to just pick on Model Mayhem. It could be Facebook. And if you're just going to message people back and forth and say, yeah, let's do it Saturday at 1 o'clock, you deserve to have them flake. That's what you hear photographers bitching about all the time on Model Mayhem. So-and-so flaked, didn't show up. It's like, yeah, but it's your fault. So the only time I use Model Mayhem, but I do use it, when I am doing a workshop. If I'm doing a workshop here, they're always small group workshops. But what I will do is I'll hire one model that knows me well and that I know well, that I've worked with. And then I'll hire a second model for the workshop off of Model Mayhem that I've never met before, ever. And the reason I do that is because the photographers that are going to come to my workshop, when they leave, they're going to go home and they're going to use a website like Model Mayhem to find models. So I want them to really understand the experience of Model Mayhem. So I will put up a casting. I will get people to respond, but right from the get-go, they have to jump through some hoops. And I don't mean it as a game. I mean it as me making sure that they are serious about attending my workshop, because I'm going to pay them, and I pay really well at my workshops. I don't try to get the girl for $40 and tell her it's good exposure. I pay really well. But I'm going to make them fill out an application where they have to fill in a whole bunch of information about themselves. I'm going to tell them when they fill out that application, it tells them, call me, and they have to call me. If they don't call me, no follow through. That's it. Done. End of it. I haven't wasted any time. They've wasted time filling out the form. They have to call me. Once they call me, I'll talk to them for a few minutes, and if they sound interesting, I will set up a time to have them come to my studio, and I will meet with them, sit down and talk. I pay them for that. $50. It's basically gas money. I usually only do this for fine art nude workshops. So even if it's a fine art nude workshop where the girl's going to make $300 or $400 by working at my workshop, I will pay her $50 to come for 2 hours. And I will sit down with her, and for an hour and 20 minutes, I will talk to her. Just shooting the breeze. Learn a little bit about her, see if I can help her out at all in her modeling career in a mentoring way, etc. Then, for 20 minutes, we will do a really quick 20-minute fine art nude shoot, because I want to see how she moves, how she photographs, etc. before the workshop. And then for the last 10 minutes, I go over some of the things that they have to make sure they do in prep, etc., and I send them on their way. At this point, I know for sure the girl's going to show up, because I've treated her professionally. I put money in her pocket. She's already had to drive to my location, and I've never had somebody flake on me, ever. So it's all about making sure that you really get to a situation where you're dealing with people in a professional way, etc. Dougal Dave, I am working to find an assistant, but you could help me with that, Dave. You could help me with that by visiting my Patreon page. So I will tell you guys this. Obviously, I am doing this by myself. I will be doing it by myself for a little while longer. I do have a Patreon page set up. You can find the link that is in the info section below. And you know what? If you don't have the money to throw a little bit of support on Patreon, you can support me for as little as $2 a month on Patreon, which is $24 a year. Plus, you get access to things that you don't get on YouTube and on my website. All the money that I bring in via Patreon, it is going for me to be able to hire assistants and help. As far as doing these live shows, though, I am determined to learn this software inside out and backwards. Believe me, this whole live streaming thing and the broadcast video, it has been like a mind-blowing learning curve. I'm a photographer, and I'm proud of that. All this other stuff is like brand new, crazy stuff that I'm learning. So I realize the mistakes and that, but I'm not afraid to make the mistakes, because you guys know that I'm trying really hard to get it right. But I do appreciate your mentioning it. It is part of the plan. And my first priority in terms of the extra help that I'm bringing in, I've got some people that are helping me out from a moderating standpoint with some of the stuff on YouTube. I've got 2 young ladies that are doing writing for me to take a lot of the scripts that I write for YouTube and be able to turn those into articles and magazine articles and stuff like that. So yes, it's definitely coming. And believe me, if you guys watch back through some of these, I'm not proud of all of them, but I've put it out there for everybody. I'm getting better at learning not to pay too much attention to the chats and all that kind of stuff. It's been a learning curve. And believe me, I love all you guys for being willing to ride along with this and kind of tolerate some of the hiccups along the way. So, Aaron, I will be definitely doing a video, not specifically about Model Mayhem, but once I finish this marketing series, so we're talking basically the end of February, I'm going to be starting a whole series of videos about working with models. And that's going to start with, how do you find them? How do you communicate with them? How do you prep for a shoot? How do you get ready for the shoot? How do you get them ready for the shoot? How do you pick the right outfits? All that kind of stuff. We're going to go through the whole thing, start to finish. That's going to be a whole nother series of videos that's coming up. So I promise you guys, there will be a lot more information about, the do's and the don'ts and all the tips. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I kind of put that off when I got started on this back in May as a full-time process, mainly because one of the quickest ways for me to build the channel was to get a lot of stuff out there for portraits. Portraits is a category that tons and tons and tons of people are searching for on YouTube. So it really helps build the exposure quickly. Obviously, given what I've done for a living for the last, 16 years, everybody wants me to give the modeling information. So it's there, it's coming, I promise you. There really has been kind of a method to the madness as far as what I'm doing. And again, I really appreciate you guys all for coming along for the ride. You've all been really supportive, and it's really wonderful. So that being said, guys, listen, I am going to run. I do have that talk to do tonight, and I want to make sure that I get there early, get things set up, because I really want to try and videotape it for you guys. It won't be quite like watching one of my tutorials, but I think you'll find it interesting because this talk actually kind of ties together a couple of the tutorials that I've done. So I think that it'll be a worthwhile watch for people. Okay? So listen, guys, have a great weekend. I'll be back here on Monday at the normal time, 6:30 p.m. We'll be doing a photography chat. We'll be doing the photo reviews. If you're not in my group yet, please join the group. You don't have to participate because I get it. I just showed you guys. It's a ton of work to participate in that group. It's a ton of work. But believe me, we got a lot of people in there that are just lurking. And in that group, as far as I'm concerned, lurking is a good word because they're learning. As long as they're visiting the group, they're learning. So you're more than welcome to join. You don't have to post. You don't have to do all the hard work. You can just learn from it. But get out there and practice this weekend, guys. You know the drill, okay? Your best shot, it's your next shot. So please, keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios, gang.